Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hopefully you can all tune in and see us now. Really excited to bring the Cashflow in a Crisis session to you. We've done Cashflow before, haven't we, Celeste?
Oh, absolutely, Clayton. And but we just really wanted to get this information out to everyone, just so that you can start thinking about what you can do differently in this particular situation that we all find ourselves in at the moment.
And it's been a tough time for a lot of business owners, and that's why we've tried to bring this content forward. So we did have the Cashflow seminar ready for later in the year, but we've really brought that forward based on the events of now. And we want to present it today just so people can take action. We've talked to a lot of clients and they're loving what we're putting out there and they're asking for more. And a lot of people are asking about cash flows. So this is imperative that we get it out there. Right?
Yeah, but just be aware, everyone, that this is a unique session. This is cash flow in a crisis. What we're talking about now is just to get through the short term. Obviously, a lot of the principles you use long term when you're doing your cash flow already, but this has got the emphasis on cash flow in a crisis, getting it done for this particular situation that we're all in.
Yep.
All right.
Totally. Kick it off.
Why not? Oh, I'll probably scoot past that one. We've already said g'day.
Hopefully you're already aware that we're from Business Edge Accountants, and both of us have been working together for a couple of years to bring together business development services and seminars and webinars now like this. So we're all about empowering business owners to achieve their greatness, whatever that is. But I guess in this crisis situation, it's more to just achieve an outcome that's best for you in your position you're in right now.
Absolutely.
Celeste is our business development coach. So she helps clients go through their business and work out what their purpose and get clarity on their direction. Did you want to add to that, Celeste?
Yeah, and like I can tell you the last couple of weeks throughout this period, as hard as it is with all of the clients, it's amazing to see what they're doing in their business and the way they're thinking about it differently. And it's really exciting. But tonight we're talking about that cash flow, because if cash flow is the lifeblood of a business, and if we don't get that right, we're just not going to survive. So that's why we're bringing this particular session tonight to everyone. All right.
So moving to the agenda.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look at what we're going to go over. So we're going to have a look about how COVID-19 is actually affecting your business and those different things that it's triggering. And then we're going to have a look at where to start. So where to start with your cash flow, what different things you're going to be looking at what assistance is out there for you that you can go and seek help with or help from. And then we're going to run through a couple of tools that we've got, some really cool little tools that you can use for a cash flow. So doing a quick one is the 5 ways to influence your cash flow. And then there's a little bit more of an in-depth one, but we're just going to brush over that just so that you can have an idea of that it's there, that if you have that time, that you can actually use that tool as well. And these tools will be provided for you at the end of this session, which is really exciting too.
Love it. Moving on.
Right. Yeah, so let's have a look at how COVID-19 is actually affecting your businesses. The things that you might be noticing, obviously, is that customers have stopped buying. It could also be that there's different inquiries or leads. If you're in one of those businesses that can still function whilst this pandemic, is COVID-19 is here. And sometimes it can actually be more difficult to make those sales with those clients because maybe you're a bricks and mortar store and there just isn't that foot traffic to get everyone in anymore. So you've had to think differently about how to reach your customers. How are you going to get there?
Yeah. So that whole pivoting factor that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's just really important. What about your customers? You need to be really cognizant of your customers and where they're at in their businesses. Maybe their expenditure for their own personal budgets have lessened, and also their business budgets because they've been affected by the virus. So the outcomes of the closures, etc. You might find that some other businesses are selling down their stocks if you've got products that you need to be aware of, so that you can make sure that you're being competitive in that market, but that you're making the right decisions for it.
Especially if you've got,
pardon, Clayton?
Too much stock.
Yeah.
Whether you've got too much.
Yeah. And we're going to go a little bit more into that. And it could be that the cost of stock, maybe it's going up, maybe because the demand is there. So just be cognizant of how you're going to work with that. It could also be that your debtors, they just aren't paying. So we'll have a look at a couple of strategies around that a little bit further down. We also wanted to make sure that you're aware of those dangers of discounting and what effect it has on your business, because when you are discounting, you need to make sure that you've got a strategy behind it. There's a reason why. It's not just because everyone else is doing it. You need to be clear on why you're doing it. And of course, you could be one of those unfortunate businesses that has had to close the doors. So where are you now? Like what is it that you can do when you need to look at cash flow? Because this is really important to you. If you want your business to actually still be alive at the end of this, a cash flow forecast is really important to see, when it might bottom out or when you can start picking it up, because then you can make some key decisions now, which is, it's better to make those decisions now rather than later when it's too late.
Especially if it's a decision based on, extending out your runway and your war chest to how long it's going to last over the duration of the closures. Yeah. But then obviously once we reopen, what money have you got to relaunch? Like selling all your stock now and then having nothing to relaunch, just making those decisions and making sure they're making informed decisions. It's crucial.
Yeah. So, and there's a whole range of different things affecting businesses. So, we've covered off on some, but protecting your cash position forward, it's going to give you the ability to make those decisions that you need to make now. Okay. So that's why it's really vital that you spend the time developing your own cash flow. And even if it's just using the really 5 ways, the quick cash flow, just so you can have an idea from tonight. Yeah,
and not emotional.
You need to make decisions that aren't necessarily emotional decisions. Numbers are pretty unemotional, so if the numbers are in front of you, you know what decision it is you need to make. So, yeah, that's where this helps as well.
Definitely. If you're making decisions based on emotion, you're really not sure how you're going to come out at the other end. So having that cash flow, having those numbers, knowing the outcome is going to be hard.
Yeah.
At least you can make decisions based on what information you do have.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. All right, so where do you start? So here you are, you've tuned in today. You obviously want to know, where is it that I start, Celeste? What do I first start looking at? So I'm hoping that maybe some of you actually already looked through some of these, but it's a really good idea to go through them anyway with other people with us tonight, so that if there's something you haven't done, that you can then look at it. So the first one is that the accounts receivable process. So you've got people owing you money. Have you chased them for it? Are you trying to make sure that you're getting paid before everyone else if they've got, other people to pay as well? It's really important that you get on the phone, you start writing your emails, and you get out to all those people that owe you some money so that you can get it into your bank account, because the last thing you want is them not being able to pay you, because, that's... it's a possibility at this particular time. Did you want to add anything on accounts receivable there, Clayton, with our debtors?
Well, I think I've been talking to a few tradies, especially because a lot of tradies are trading and they're still going okay, and they're not 100% sure how it's going to affect them in the future. The biggest concern from my perspective with the tradies is what's going to happen to the bigger companies at the top, and if one of them crumbles, it's going to have a big impact on everyone. So having the same terms that you've always had might not serve in the position you're in now. So it's important to, whether you trade on 7 days or daily. So sometimes in a crisis like, I need to get paid every day. If you're not sure whether this person's going to pay you at the end of the week or month, then say, well, if you want me to do this, cash in the hand tomorrow. Whatever it is, to make sure that you're getting paid for the services you're doing, it's super important.
Yeah, and some are asking for 50% up front now on different things that they're doing, whether it's tradies or products or different services, because there's always that risk around there at the moment. So, so with your accounts payable, so on that sense, who do you owe money to? Your suppliers that are out there. Have you actually rang them and how to talk to them and see what it is that they can do for you? Because in this particular case, you might have some outstanding bills, but if you rang your suppliers and had a chat to them, and if they said, can you prioritize my bill over everyone else's, and I'll give you a discount on it, well, that's money in your bank then, isn't it? If you can make that. So have a think about those strategies.
And work with them. Maybe you extend your runway out by just paying a little bit, or reduce what supplies are coming in. Maybe you pre-ordered something. A lot of stuff gets imported, and a lot of imports have stopped in China. So maybe your stock's not even coming, but they're still sending the invoice. So just make sure you check in with your suppliers and your accounts payable where it's sitting. I think, so just assess it.
And that really touches on that inventory process. Like, what stocks do you have? What are you going to run out of? What's your churn rate with those? If you have inventory in your business, have you got enough to sustain you through this period without any imports? So, and also it's a good idea to do a stock take, just see where you're at, what you do have on your shelf, if you do have those tangible products within your business.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in services as well, you could also look at, what's your work in progress time that you've got to get things done, and if you don't have enough manpower to get it done, or, because you had to cut back, etc. So there are all the different things you need to consider there.
Especially in the shutdown period. If you get shut down and you got half a wall built, well, maybe you got to decide, well, am I going to get this done in order to get an invoice? Maybe you do part invoices, see if you can send an invoice for this week's work. Make sure you're getting paid.
Yeah, it's really, really important. So also in that where to start is having a look at your debt or your different structure that you might have with how your money flows through your business. Because at the moment, we'll talk briefly about the support that you can get that's out there for you at the moment, but you need to know where your debts are, or your loans, etc., so that you can make some informed decisions as to what's the priority and what it is that you can afford at this particular time and going forward as well.
Definitely. And there's so many options out there, especially at the moment.
Yeah. Your overhead. So this is where we talk in accountanese, and we talk fixed costs and variable costs. So the big one you really need to work hard on and take that extra effort is with those fixed costs. So what's fixed costs? Fixed costs is your rent. It's something you have to pay if you have rent, that is, obviously. Pardon?
Phone, electricity.
Yeah, all those things that are going to just keep on happening. That doesn't worry about that we're in the middle of a crisis at the moment, because you still got to pay those. Whereas your variable costs are things like you've got advertising. You might be able to change what you're spending there. It could be wages. There's all those different things that you can actually manipulate easily, whereas the fixed costs are really hard to manipulate. Okay, and we've got some help there as well. Only today, I think it was, in our email out, there was a template letter there that you can send to your realtors, so that you can start requesting and saying, hey, within this situation, I'm going to struggle to make that rent. How can you help me? Or can we have a discussion about how we can work together to the future? I even actually picked up off the news the other day that one of the advisors there was saying why not offer to the landlord that you'll do some work to it, so that, in lieu of getting rent or something, because maybe you've got time to put labour into looking after that property. But anyway, it depends on your circumstances as to what can work. What else we got there? Our gross profit margin. Absolute. Adam's just tuned in. Thanks for joining us, Adam. And Adam's just added in that a lot of the commercial landlords are actually renegotiating rents at the moment, which is really promising, because that's but no one's going to offer you a discount unless you ask, and that's what we're trying to push you to do and advise you, is just go and ask them, have the conversation, go and ask them, see what they say.
You don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, that's right. So with all this, your gross profit margin is more than likely getting affected if you're one of those key industries that's being affected. So you need to be mindful of what your gross profit margin is, and that is that if you have a product and you buy it for $50 and you sell it for $100, your gross profit is 50%. You get to keep, $50 out of that 100. But maybe that is being encroached on so that, your profitability in all your products is getting squeezed. So, because maybe some of your costs are going up or different things are happening in your business. So be aware of your gross profit margin is and keep an eye on that number. Really important.
If you don't know it, talk to your accountant, see if you can work it out. Or even check what the industry benchmark is in regard to that.
And if you're on cloud accounting software, it's really easy to find out that information. So that's why we use it. It could also be that you might have to make a really hard decision to liquidate some stock or product that you've got. You need to get it moving, because if it has a use by date on it, or seasonal, you got to get it moving. You got to get it out of there. So they're decisions you got to make. And that's why if we go through this cash flow and you go and do it yourself on your business, you'll be able to go and have a look and go, yep, I need to start liquidating some stock. I need to squeeze that profit margin so that I can come out and survive through this. Another one we had up there was about your sales levels. So, preserving that cash flow. How much have your sales been affected? Like if they've gone down, how much have they gone down, and potentially where are they going to go all the way down to at this stage? If you've closed your doors, obviously you're looking at zero now. If there's nothing else that you can do in order to generate those sales.
And that sales aspect is really key when you think about doing your cash flow forecast. So if you're trying to work out how far your runway is, you're going to have to try and guess, unfortunately, how long this lockdown is going to work for.
Yeah.
You can think about 2 weeks all you want, but realistically, it could be as long as a month or 6 weeks until they start opening up. China was 6 weeks. We could be waiting 10 weeks. So knowing that number and working out how far you can run it without any sales is very, very important.
Yeah, or how can you pivot to get sales? How can you change that business? Some people some are lucky enough to have that online presence so they can ramp that up. It's like a lever that they can just pull on in their business. Others don't have that luxury, but may have that time to be able to think about, well, what are you going to do to pivot? We've also got on there about your unused assets and equipment. And with that, if you've got a heap of machinery, if you're in trades or farming and, your cash flow is getting pushed, have a look at what assets you have out there and equipment so that you can maybe have to liquidate those or rejig them, maybe hire them out or something like that so that you can maybe generate revenue from it. Who knows what it is, but just think differently about it. We've also got,
Yeah, it could also be around that. Do you have unused equipment, and are you paying loans and leases and things on it? Renegotiate that.
Yeah. We've also got like asset purchases. So if you need to make those purchases, but maybe you're not in that position to make that time. And I just listed that discounting there as a separate item again, just so that you're aware that if you do discount, that there's a reason behind the strategy behind that discounting. Don't just jump to that automatically. Just think carefully about it.
Really impacts on your gross profit margin there. On the asset purchase as well, if you've got cash and you're looking at buying a car and you've seen the instant write-off information in the news and the media at the moment, you think, I'll buy a car, that'll save me. I need a car anyway, it's going to save me some tax. Well, just bear in mind that if you buy a car and you get a loan, and that reduces your cash flow position. So you might reduce your runway, and therefore you might end up closing earlier at the wrong time. So really important to consider all of those decisions along the way. And again, having that cash flow will help you make an informed decision.
Yeah, awesome. Let's have a look at our next one, Clayton. So like we said, we touched on briefly. So banks are out there and they're offering assistance to who it is that they work with. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a loan or a business loan or an overdraft with the bank to get help. Working with a client, they were lucky enough to get their merchant fees, I think it was reduced or even waived for a short period of time. So go to the bank or call the bank, whoever it is that you work with, and just have a chat. Ask them some questions. What's available to you?
One of the biggest things that Celeste loves when she ever first met me was I said to ring the bank every year and get a reduction in your interest rate. It costs you a phone call, 5 minutes. It could be just a couple of little basis points, but it adds up in the long run. One of the other key things, if your bank's not giving you much love, ring someone, ring a broker. I can't recommend Adam King enough. Lucky enough to have him on the chat here today. He's amazing. Every client has only ever had good things to say about how awesome it is, but he's always working the data and he's working with us, the accountants, to make sure that the structure's right, to make sure they're getting the biggest benefit, to make sure the things are in the right names. It's really important when you're doing restructuring and refinancing that you're getting things right to make sure you're keeping that deductibility. Nothing worse than you see people and they mesh everything together and then you're like, oh, that's no good. It doesn't work out. So super important, not just get the assistance, but get the advice that goes along with it. And there's so many banks at the moment, they're pushing back payment terms and they've reduced their interest rates and all sorts of different things for businesses. Set up special small business loans from the government. There's so much there on offer. Have a look at it. Again, assess your cash flow, assess your runway. At some point when you reopen, business might not be booming at the same level it is now, but you've still got to make those loan repayments. So you make sure that you're making an informed decision when you're deciding to go and get more loans, if that is an option you're looking at. So super important.
Absolutely. And the next one we had was the ATO. So the ATO are there, obviously they're flat stick at the moment, but there are different things that you can also do to get support. You know, it could be that business hardship so that you can defer some payments that you may have if you've got a debt with the ATO at the moment. It could be reviewing your GST reporting cycle. Some people like to move it to that monthly so that if they're getting refunds that they can get them quicker to increase that cash flow in their business. So these are all things that, you know, you can contact the ATO and ask them what support that they can offer to you as a business owner. So highly recommend that too.
Yeah, definitely utilize that to extend out your runway. There's so many things you can defer. At the end of the day, same deal, you're going to have to pay it at some point. So just putting it away for later might make it a bit more harder later on if the funds just aren't rolling in like you hope. So sometimes, again, put it into the cash flow, see what you can do. Maybe you have to pay some now, pay some later, lodge some now, lodge some later. Have that discussion with your accountant, because your accountant, bookkeeper, obviously they'll be tax agents or BAS agents, but talk to them to make sure that you're getting the right advice on how to best access that support from the ATO to increase your cash flow.
Yeah. And this one, so we didn't want to spend tonight talking too much about the stimulus package, but it's really important that you know what is out there and start educating yourself on so that you can start asking those right questions for you about what's out there. So, you know, there's that cash flow boost for small businesses, and Clayton did a little presentation today.
The other day.
Video up, yeah, and it's, you know, where you can plug in what's your PAYG and what are you going to get, and it's pretty. I was pretty excited when I first saw this little calculator that another accountant shared with us. So, you know, find out if you're eligible for it. Ring your accountant, or you know, just do some research.
Understand how it works.
Yeah, and they're part of the stimulus package. They've also I've got a solvency safety net, so that if you are operating insolvent because of the current conditions, that there is a bit of leeway with that. They've moved it from being $2,000 up to $20,000 that you can operate in that insolvency bracket. So obviously not ideal, but they have allowed leniency around that, so to help everyone out. We've also got access to your working capital, so that's where the banks come in again, like being able to access that, loaning that money. But if you're going to loan, remember you've always got to give it back. So make sure that you're fully aware of what their terms are. For sure. And then you've got that job seeker payment, so for the sole traders and self-employed. So if you find yourself out of work, or that the business is can no longer function and has to stop, cease to operate, well, you do have access to that. But just remember, there, you know, it's a Centrelink payment, so therefore there are eligibility criteria such as your household income, etc. There is talk around that getting changed, but nothing's been legislated. So we go off legislation, not off hearsay.
And it's not until like April 27th. It's a long way away. So again, people are going to struggle in between now and then. So that's frustrating, but got to factor it in.
Yeah, for sure. There's also a couple I just wanted to put up here that are for individuals, but individuals own businesses. So they're offering that early release of superannuation there. So it might be something you want to consider. You might want to access that instead of taking out a loan if you need that cash flow. But be informed when you're making that decision and work out what those repercussions are long term. They always say that if you're going to draw out of your super, to make sure that you put it back in as quick as possible, because that compounding interest. And that, once again, you've got that bankruptcy safety net. It's a little bit different because this one's on the individual. So for those sole traders out there that are operating, that's been raised as well.
Oh, and on that, sorry, I just got a little bit distracted. The other one was around the HR support and information we put out there for people. So make sure that you're aware on that. Sorry, I'm just getting the next slide ready. So we talked about the HR in the blog. Celeste can hopefully take it from here.
Yeah, and like with your HR, I attended a really great webinar with Linda Griffith from Total HRM this morning, and she had a legal consultant, Andrew Bland, as well, and it was fantastic because they just went through all the different questions that we all have with our employees and what we're going to do, and what can we legally do in order to assist business owners, because that's probably one of the most emotional decisions you need to make is about your team.
Yeah.
But a cash flow forecast would take that emotion out of it, because the numbers don't lie. They're in front of you. They're telling you what you need to do in your business.
Totally. Love it. Love Total HRM. On that, so we'll go to the Fast Five. I'll take control. So this is just a basic, quick cash flow projection tool that you might be able to use to have a look at where you're sitting right now. Obviously, you need to know your numbers, and this one's more around KPIs and understanding your averages and stuff. So maybe on average you have 51 customers, but maybe that's dropped down. So this is just a quick tool that we'll make available that you can download to put in your numbers to just get some quick answers. So maybe it's going to drop down to 30. You were doing $10,000 worth of sales. Now it's dropped down to 1 with a $60 transaction value. This one here should be 30 times this equals that.
Your calculator.
But basically the idea of this one is if you know what's going on with your frequencies, then you can adjust it accordingly to what's going on in your business. Maybe you do want to do a quick check and go, well, that's where I'm sitting right now. Well, sales are going to go down by 10%. My transaction frequency is going to go down by 50%, but my transaction value is going to go up 20%. So you can see how you can start playing with your profit position just on a quick Fast Five action items there. Maybe your cost of goods sold, you can bring that down by, it's going to go up by 10%. Suppliers are no good. Maybe your overheads are going to go down by 10%, depending on what you're going to do there. We'll make this available and a bit more user-friendly on the blog soon. Maybe this is the easier one, which most small business owners I think will appreciate. Keeping it simple, like $10,000 is my monthly sales. On that, I've got 40% cost of goods sold. So my gross profit is going to be $6,000. My overhead is 49%. So therefore, my net profit is $5,000. Pretty simple. And then we put some ones in here where you might just be able to change them, like the rent. So maybe the rents come back to 0. So that's adjusting that there. Oh, that one's not right. Damn it. That's okay. This isn't the saved one, obviously. But anyway. That's okay. I'll fix it up. But yeah, same deal. In the green one, make the adjustments. Maybe it's 25%, and your cost of goods sold, you bring that down, or it's probably going to go up, but 50%, and keep playing with the amounts to see where you're sitting. Does that help, Celeste? Does that kind of make sense on people? So
yeah, I suppose it's that blue line. You want to know, if you're going to get have more of a profit or less of a profit. But it's really when you go in and we have a look at the next spreadsheet, which is a lot more work for everyone to utilize.
So much more.
But it gives you the better way to make the decisions out of it. So I've just got it shared now, haven't I, Clayton?
It's coming. There we go.
Coming.
Maybe
is that all right?
Full screen.
Okay, so I'll hide. I'll have to do that again. Sorry.
No, click on the big one on the right.
Sorry, I know what you're talking. Sorry, everyone. This one to this.
It's all part of the fun of doing webinars live.
Yeah, well.
Our house, but it's awesome. Like, I'm here at my house, you're there at your house, coming to you live at 7:30 at night. We're nearly there. Just a couple more slides to go, so don't stress. But this one is super important, and this is the main one that we want everyone to do. The template we made available for free on our website. The team at Change GPS has been kind enough to share that with us. They're a part of all the groups and stuff that we're online, and we're all sharing information and communicating with each other. And this is one of those tools that we just think is imperative for clients to be able to use. There is a whole heap of online tools that you can use and connect up with Xero and MyOb and QuickBooks. And I'll be doing discussions with Scenario tomorrow, and that's pretty exciting. And some of them are free, some of them you need to work with your accountant. So it's important to make that distinction. But this one will be available on the blog tomorrow. If you want to crunch it in, follow Celeste.
All right, so you can see me now, the screen?
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah, right. So, yep, it's a spreadsheet. Yep, it's full of numbers. It's messy because it's quick, okay? So this data, if you use cloud accounting software such as Xero, you need to go into it and download your last 12 months, okay? Like your P&L, download your last 12 months of what your expenses and your income has been, and just populate all those numbers across for each month, okay? So, you know, what were your sales for each month grouped together? What was just, if you had cost of goods sold, so if you had stock or you had some sort of product in there, make sure you add it in. And then you go down to your expenses and what your charges were. So, you know, you've got bank charges in here, you've got office supplies, all those different things. So, you know, those ones are, you know, some of those are fixed and some of those are variable. You've got your marketing, you know, what are being paid on advertising? Because as you're populating these, you're like, is this line actually necessary? Is it necessary, you know, for me to spend that much? Or am I going to put more into my advertising at this particular time in my business? You've got other operating expenses.
Well, you have to take control back so people can see.
Yeah, that's right. So it's as much as a really good activity filling this in as much as anything else, because then you can really see what's going on. And then down the bottom, you've got your balance sheet. So with your balance sheet.
Stop. Sorry? You just bring it back up on the screen, the live stream. Sorry, I stole it.
Oh. Right.
There we go. Other one. Nope.
No, that's you.
Boom.
All right, we're there. Yeah, so that's the top part of the P&L where you get that data from. And then down the bottom here is your balance sheet. So, you know, if you've got debtors, that top line here is what debtors have you got that owe you money at the moment. So maybe you've got a staggered payment of $5,000 each from a debtor at the moment coming through. What creditors, who owes you money, and then looking at what your loans are. So if you're hiring something, or if you've got loans for maybe vehicles or different assets, or maybe just a business loan there, an overdraft, something like that you're trying to pay down, that's where it's going to show up in here on this particular tool. So now I'll just go through to the scenario planner. And what this is where that data is already coming through. So I know it's a little bit hard to see, so bear with me because I've frozen some panes here. And so we're back up the top of that spreadsheet where your sales are. So maybe we take a hit of 50% on our sales. So what is that going to look like for the business? So if you're taking a 50% hit, it might only be 85,000 turnover, because these are all those numbers that have been fed through from that other spreadsheet. Maybe you're buying less product, so you're going to buy 40% less product. So put that percentage number in there.
With buying product too, that obviously means you've got restrictions on making more sales. If you don't have as much product, you can't sell as much.
Oh, absolutely. All the things to consider. You know, and here, if maybe the bank decides to waiver its charges in the month of, you know, April, so you can actually delete it all out if they decide to, if they're kind enough. And then you can go through and delete those ones out, because you know that up until August, you're not going to have that $150 fee because they're waivering that. So take it out. What else have we got here? It could be going to your advertising, maybe you've cut it back by half. So you're cutting it back to 50%. Other operational expenses you've got in there. So let's go down. Maybe if you are a tradie and you can't really operate and drive around, so maybe your fuel's gone down. Maybe you've cut it by 50% there as well. So see how these lines are moving up here, up the top? Because this is what people get, yeah, but we have to do the hard work by populating these spreadsheets. And this is not easy. This is stuff that we do with our clients on their behalf. So, you know, looking at rent, you know, if you're going to get a deal and you only pay 50%, etc. What loans have you got? Maybe they've put holds on your loans. So then you're going to stop paying those loans. You're going to put a hold on them for a certain period. So that's where that scenario comes in. So then if you go to the scenario summary tab down the bottom, it brings them both up. So this was the, I have to bring it in a bit smaller for you. So here you can see that was your position if it was the same as that's where you're going to bottom out and how you're going, right? But if you make some adjustments by cutting your stock in half and reducing rent, bank charges are waived, well, it looks to the survivability of that business. It's just skirting along there. So it's by utilizing one of these tools and taking the time to populate it, it's going to give you that benefit of making those decisions.
But it's telling you that you've got to make more changes because you run out of money. So your runway is not enough. So you're telling you that you've got to go back to your scenario and make some more adjustments to extend out the runway a little bit further.
Yeah, and because that's what it's all about. You want to know when you're going to run out of cash, don't you? So that's the purpose of doing that cash flow. All right, so what else have we got?
Okay, in this business's case, maybe they've got an overdraft, so maybe that is okay. But if they don't have an overdraft, then they've got to do something about it. So this template will be available. So if you want to take action, you can chuck your numbers in there and plug away, play away, and hopefully you can make a better informed decision in regards to all the things that are going on, because we understand that it's just so much pressure with business owners at the moment. So it's super important to take action. And
of course, so that leads us on to what we've got already. So we've got free resources out there. We send out emails at the moment, obviously quite regularly, with what's going on with updates. On the website, all of our links that we have up, such as, if you want to write a letter to your real estate agent, we've got an example of that in there. And obviously these resources will be up there as well that you can access. But following from that, if you need more help, come in and see us. Do a proactive accounting meeting with us. That's where we just sit down, get to know each other, and work out how it is that we can work together into the future and how we can help you.
And it's free.
Absolutely. And especially at the moment, we also have our business content continuation plan that we're delivering, so that if you want to come in and go through what it is that you need to do in your business, that was another webinar that we did last week about your plan, how you're going to get through this particular event at the moment for your business. It's really important that you have that plan. We've got that template as well.
A free checklist template online in regards to that as well. So again, lots of resources on the website. At least a bare minimum, if you don't have time to invest in that, there's a checklist. At least go, I've checked off these items. Go and watch the video again. It's all free. Yeah,
absolutely. But we obviously offer that as a service as well. And there's a cash flow forecasting. If you don't want to do that cash flow forecast, I don't blame you. But we will work with you and we can do that for you. And of course, one of probably the most important ones at the moment is tax planning, because you need to make some decisions about what stimulus packages that you can access for yourself and your business, to make sure you're getting the right ones and making those right decisions, because there's some real key decisions to be made before the end of this month with some of those stimulus packages.
You don't want to pay too much tax, and that's can't stress that enough. If you're paying too much tax, then you're not doing it right. And just about every single client we see, pretty much every single client we see, we save thousands of dollars. It's not difficult. It's just a process you've got to go through, assess where you're at, and really understand what taxes you're going to pay, what things you can move around to reduce your tax position. And with the COVID-19 stimuluses out there with the ATO, there is so many more opportunities that you need to understand, especially understanding how the cash is going to flow in your business to make sure whether you can or cannot make those changes in your business in regards to tax.
And that's where that business continuation plan is really good, because it highlights the importance of the next step of doing a cash flow and doing the tax planning. Okay, so, you know, holistically, they work really well together, obviously. What else have we got up there, Clayton? If we have any. So your next steps, we always finish with some jobs for everyone to do after watching. You know, what it is that you need to do, what 3 actions you need to do now for yourself. Okay, and remember that doing nothing is simply not an option. You need to do something and not just wallow. Yeah, we've all probably been there at the moment, but it's time to step out of that. And if you need help stepping out of that, that's where you reach out to us, to your accountant, to your bookkeeper, to your business buddy, and have those conversations so that you can get out. You got to make sure that you're putting your oxygen mask on first before you're putting on around everyone else. Okay.
Yeah. So, and there is the 4 or 5 trusted advisors, your accountant, lawyers, bookkeepers, financial planner, and your HR specialists. Make sure you're getting on to make informed decisions that are going to get you back on track and opening the doors again. That's what our goal is here today, is to make sure that you either keep the doors open or open them again when it starts up.
Yeah. And for HR, I'll link that webinar I did this morning once they release it. They're releasing a recording, because I just can't stress enough just to get that peace of mind and going and seeing HR specialists if that's a problem. You know, if the cash flow points out that you have to do something with those wages, etc., that you pay. So you obviously need to then go and check your eligibility for government stimulus package. It can be hard to navigate through that. That's why our clients are coming and seeing us. Contacting your accountant, and think about bringing your tax planning forward. If you're already going to be doing it for the year, why not bring it forward to make sure you're taking advantage of the different tax benefits of the stimulus packages that are being released. Awesome.
So I think the next step is questions. So if anyone's got any questions, chuck them in the chat box and we can answer them. Obviously today, I think this has been a really good session. We will make it available it is on YouTube now, streaming live. So it'll be available later. We're doing this specifically like this so that we can share the information and help as many business owners as we can. Hopefully we've kept it, the content good enough that everyone will be able to utilize it and reutilize it. By all means, share it with your friends, share it on social media. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a client of ours to take action off some of this stuff. We just want to share and help the community and really just help businesses get through this tough time.
Absolutely. Because we can't help everyone, can we, Clayton? But we try and help as many people, obviously our clients, that we can. But if by just doing things like this is going to help someone think differently and make a change for the better in their business, well, our job is done.
Oh, totally. And if somebody makes a point of calling their accountant out of this, that job done. It's a win. Or if they call us.
Yeah, awesome.
Aaron, I think you covered it. I think so too. It's awesome.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
So
leave you with a parting thought that you never take your eyes off the cash flow, because it's the lifeblood of your business. Alrighty, you got to know where you're at. Otherwise, survival's a bit tough. Okay. Stay safe, everyone out there, and stay connected. I don't know about you, but I've been doing lots of different Zoom calls and webinars, and it's great to be able to talk to people.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Bye.